Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Wendy Hewitson and I'm the AgriTech Programme Manager for Barclays Eagle Labs. And today you are joining us for the third session within our AgriTech Awareness Week, where today we're going to be looking at AgriTech R&D within the UK. But before we get started, I do have a short mandatory disclaimer that I need to read through to you. So please do bear with me. So we have asked Richard Glass from Crop Health and Protection, or CHAP as it's known, Shamal Mohammed from the Agri-EPI Centre, which is the Agricultural Engineering Precision Innovation Centre, Matthew Smith from Agrimetrics, and also Stuart Blyth from CIEL, which is the Centre for Innovation and Excellence in Livestock, to join us today to provide us with some tips and tricks on AgriTech R&D within the UK. The topics discussed today are an overview of options for you to think about and to help you with your independent research and business decisions, so they aren't intended as recommendations or advice. Please also remember as well that your business has its own individual circumstances, so the statements and views expressed may not be applicable or suitable for your business. So as I said, we are here today to look at AgriTech R&D within the UK. But I want to give you first a quick overview of who I am and what I do and what the Barclays Eagle Labs do. So Eagle Labs is the UK's largest network of business incubators, where we provide access to a community of startups, events programming, industry experts, mentors, rapid prototyping support, and with a combined community of over 650 technology startups, we've got 25 UK locations. Our goal is around developing a scale-up and engaged founder community with a wider, innovative entrepreneurial ecosystem. So how do we do that? What do we support with, and what are our objectives? The first one is the acceleration of UK businesses. So we look at supporting high potential, high growth technology businesses that are starting and scaling up. With an agri lens on that, we're looking at connecting agri-tech startups to the research and development expertise, to farmers, and also the supply chain. We also look at collaborative innovation. So in the face of emerging technologies and disruption across all industries, there's never been a better time to connect the startup community to established corporates, to exchange their ideas, partner and innovate and collaborate together. So literally we're looking at simulating innovation and collaboration across the pan supply food chain. In regards to Industry 4.0, that's providing access to training on evolving technologies and skills, providing and facilitating in a role of encouraging positive innovation and disruption. So for us in our AgriTech programme, that's looking at demystifying Industry 4.0, for our farming clientele, and to become the voice of the farmer to the industry, but also vice versa, demystifying those problems that the farmer has to the technical experts and innovation out there. So we have a vision within our AgriTech programme, and that is to become the #1 bank for positive innovation in agriculture, to support the UK food supply chain to become the most sustainable ecosystem in the world, through the demystification of technology and encouraging that collaboration pan supply chain. So we're looking at feeding the world without wrecking the planet. Now there's a lot of different names for Industry 4.0, but for me, from a farming background, it's one simple line. It's a tool to support, not to replace the farmer. And through that, we hope to encourage better productivity, the more efficient farming methods, looking at sustainable methods, and also that most important one, that alleviation and saving of time. So when we look at AgriTech and we look at R&D within AgriTech and agriculture, what are the knowns? The known is that the world's population is expected to increase by 2 billion in the next 30 years. So that's from an estimated 7.7 billion currently to 9.7 billion in 2050. And that again is estimated to require an extra 60 to 70% extra food. So again, why AgriTech? Why agriculture? The government has committed a £90 million investment supporting the idea that AgriTech is a burgeoning market through their Transforming Food Production Challenge and their industrial strategy. So this really is an exciting time for the industry, as there's a growing recognition that the significant challenges facing global agriculture represent both unique opportunities for innovation, investment, and commercial growth. So the vision. What is the vision? The vision is all around the environmental implications of these challenges. They're real. The water waste in food, and that food that is never eaten, is equal to the water needs of Africa. And the CO2 emissions are equivalent to removing every car off the road across the world. So the food industry itself faces enormous systemic challenges. Further expansion of agriculture is not a viable solution to meet these future needs, because we're using nearly all of the land that's suitable for agriculture already. So what are we going to be looking at? As I've said, relying on increased production alone, whether through increased yields or harvest frequency, will be an important solution, but not a sufficient one. So hence, to successfully close the gap, we need to look at adopting a variety of innovative strategies. We must produce more crops, but also we must do this while using more efficiency and using the food we grow more effectively. So what's the good news? There is good news out there. Technology adoption, though, needs to occur, most likely in measured steps. Most farmers and food producers will need technologies that can be introduced gradually alongside their existing food production systems. And these new technologies and techniques are being developed. In 2013, the government formed its AgriTech strategy, of which 4 centres of AgriTech excellence were created to accelerate agricultural R&D within the industry. So as I said at the beginning, I'm really pleased that I've got all 4 representatives from these centres of excellence here today. Your first speaker today is going to be Stuart Blyth, who is the Head of Business Development from CIEL. So I'm going to see if Stuart's ready to come on board with us and have a chat through CIEL and their capabilities. Hi, Stuart. Are you there?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us, Stuart. Now, I'm not going to take up any more of the time. What I would like to do is hand over to you to talk through your presentation, obviously the capabilities and the areas of expertise that you have within CIEL. So thank you, Stuart.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I am Stuart Blyth, and I'm the Head of Business Development for CIEL, the Centre for Innovation Excellence in Livestock. So what I'm going to talk about today is the research capability that exists across the whole of the CIEL network. Now, we are, as has been said, part of the family of AgriTech centres, and you'll hear from CHAP, Agri-EPI and Agrimetrics later on today. And we've been set up also to be the gateway for business to really access the best scientific expertise and capability to drive sustainable food and farming solutions across the sector. And I'll talk a little bit about that today, but I'll focus mainly on CIEL's capabilities. So CIEL was actually set up with a large part of the investment that came from Bayes and Innovate just over 6 years ago now. This investment was 35 million, which came to CIEL, and this was actually matched by 12 academic partners to bring the investment up to a total of 70 million, which was invested in 26 different capabilities and facilities across the UK. And these facilities are set up to give access to research, to really provide the guiding research for the industry. And this will focus my discussion on today. So CIEL itself, we really see ourselves as being the front door to this research and innovation. We try to provide leadership in this sector by trying to build different hubs of expertise and join up different pockets of excellence. But really our drive is creating collaborations, and that's collaborations between industry and collaborations between our academic partners to really drive the research that's going to make a difference to the whole of the farming sector. So as I've said, we really see ourselves as the front door to this collaborative network. And we're actually focusing on 6 different sectors or 6 different challenges. The first of these is climate smart systems. So everything that impacts the environment and everything that impacts sustainability and circular economy for the future. We're also focused very heavily on capabilities looking at resource efficiency and precision nutrition, and a lot about endemic disease reduction and AMR resistance. And this leads in as well to health and welfare management. And finally, food safety, quality and integrity. So these become our major challenges that all of our academic partners and all of our capabilities are focused on. When it comes to our academic partners, we have 12 research partners across the whole of the UK. These are based in Scotland, England, Northern Ireland and Wales, and cover some of the leading academic facilities across the livestock sector. The benefit of having them spread out over the whole of the UK is that we're able to look at different systems, different types of environments and different types of its impacts on the farming system, and therefore take the best research results from each of them to try to give the best information to both the farming community, but also to industry on how to optimize their systems. We are, as well, a membership organization, and this is just a snapshot of our industry members. Our membership covers everything from our large retail groups all the way back down the food supply chain to the feed producers as well, and everyone in between, plus small SMEs and technology development companies, because all of these organizations drive the whole sector and rely on good decision-making capabilities and informed research to make a lot of their decisions. So it's critical they have a strong voice within the work that we do. So our facilities, I'm going to cover 6 of our main facilities, then some of our focus areas, just to give you a flavor of the types of capabilities across the network. If I start really with our dairy centre, so based in Nottingham in conjunction with the University of Nottingham, this is a commercial scale dairy facility, which has 3 main areas to it. It has a young stock facility, it has a large scale commercial sized dairy, and it also has a CAP 2 facility. What this allows the dairy to do is actually look at different types of housing environments on the health, the weather, productivity of the cattle within. The facility can also look at the development from young stock all the way through to adult dairy cows, and really look at efficiency and environmental impact of the animals throughout their whole lifetime. It's a very flexible facility and can be used to really... Another facility going across into Northern Ireland is in AgriTech, and this is a precision grassland platform. This platform is really focused on looking at grassland systems, and again, taking the cattle from early stage right through their whole lifetime, and looking at all of their dietary intake, then correlating that to the behaviour, the health and welfare, and trying to identify the optimum systems to use to improve productivity and reduce environmental impact. If I move a little bit closer to our centre, which is in York, just outside of York, we have the University of Leeds facility, which is our National Pig Centre. This is actually the only research capability of a commercial scale, which has both indoor and outdoor capabilities. The indoor capability is really cutting edge in terms of its capability to study feed efficiency and nutritional welfare. The whole facility is set up with individual feed systems, which can look at an individual animal, monitor its feed and its growth rate throughout its entire life cycle. It can also collect and correlate the environmental footprint from all the animals, and therefore lead to a better productivity and efficiency gains. The indoor facility is also actually set up with a state-of-the-art camera system, which monitors each individual pen, and this allows studies on health and welfare to be done as well. So we can look at different types of health and social behaviour for the pigs as they're growing, as they're on different diets, and as they're subjected to different types of circumstances. Moving up into Scotland, in the poultry sector, we have the Alan Muir Avian Innovation Centre. This is one of the few facilities that can actually do scientifically replicated studies on broilers, layers, and on turkeys as well, and can take everything from a small scale pilot facility all the way through to a commercial scale trial. It encompasses everything from poultry studies, whether it's nutrition, health and welfare, quality, and even site physiology studies, and really can replicate anything that's done under industry circumstances. Staying up in Scotland, we have another unique centre, and this is the LARIF facility, which is a large animal research and imaging facility. This facility is really developed to try to study insights into both animal and human health. It's essentially a suite of imaging and surgical facilities, and can really start to look at development of improved vaccines, development of improved health and welfare studies, and also looking at strategies to develop antimicrobial resistance. And it does so looking at tailored work on infectious diseases and tailored organisms, and studying the impact of that on the latest genetic strains of animals, trying to identify animals that are more resistant to disease and are better at taking productivity to that next level. And then down in the southwest, we have the Northwick Farm Platform. This is actually the world's most instrumented farm. And basically it measures all the nutrients that are put onto a farm, all the nutrients that are lost on a farm, and the farming system that's built around it. So it's really set up to monitor the impacts of soil, the impacts of water, and the impacts of different grassland and grazing systems on both productivity and on greenhouse gas production. So it's really the centre that's focused on environment and good environmental control for the best efficiency of livestock development. I now want to finish with a couple of little systems showing you some of our capabilities grouped together. We have a number of facilities focused on resource efficiency and precision nutrition. These are basically a series of platforms that monitor very carefully feed, water, inputs into the animals on an individual basis and look at greenhouse gas emissions. We have one for beef, a small ruminant platform in Aberystwyth, and a precision pig in Athby. And this is actually complemented in SRUC with a mobile sheep facility. So whereas the first three of these are embedded in the academic institutions, the mobile sheep facility can actually be taken out onto farm and can actually measure individual sheep intakes on the farm itself. So it can be used to improve efficiency in an actual farming situation. We then have a series of capabilities based on health and welfare. And this covers everything from a free farrowing unit at SRUC, looking at piglet behaviour and performance, through our Bristol Poultry Research Farm, which is a very high-spec series of rooms, 8 rooms, measuring all the visual and audio inputs into those rooms. And it can be set up for 8 individual studies of poultry, looking at both health, welfare, nutrition, and how they are controlled or how they're measured by the visual and the audio output of the birds. We then also have a centre for digital innovation, and this is essentially a centre based in Newcastle University looking at the gait of some of our larger animals and being able to measure very small changes in gait and understand how that impacts animal health and welfare, allowing early interventions to be taken to reduce the need for future antibiotics. We then have a series covering food safety, quality and integrity. And this is everything from state-of-the-art development of cold plasma to reduce antimicrobial properties. And this can be used to improve food hygiene and actually can improve shelf life extension of food as well. We have a mobile sensory lab in SRUC that can travel around the country, can actually measure different types of meat quality, and can actually use that with consumer testing. So this allows consumers to actually go into a facility, test different types of qualities of food, and actually give immediate feedback. And this can be taken to shows, it can be taken to large industries. We then have an asset lab at Queen's University looking at feed and food contamination. And with all our future focus on food resilience, this is a great capability for rapidly being able to detect any issues or any problems in the food security chain. And then finally, we have a CT scanner at SRUC, which can really study carcass or live animals and be able to look at the body composition so we can understand the impact of food or genetic improvements on the productivity and the quality of the meat that's produced. Then our last section is just on our climate smart food systems. These are a series of facilities which covers everything from small ruminants at Rothamsted, which is a facility looking at everything that a sheep will eat and drink and everything that it will excrete, and being able to study the efficiency of different types of feed systems and the benefit in terms of environmental impact of different types of feed. We have a future farm down in Dutchy. This is going to be a very low environmental footprint farm, a dairy farm, which is going to look at precision management of dairy cattle. Again, trying to minimize the environmental impact of this type of farming. Then we have a sheep metabolism unit, and this is effectively a unit looking at genetics, diet, and management of sheep, but measuring within a metabolism chamber all of the input and all of the gaseous emissions of the animals as well. So we can do very detailed studies on the outputs of the ruminants. And then lastly, we have one facility in SRUC, which is looking at the complete genomic evaluation and delivery system across all of our livestock species. And this is really linking the genomic performance with some of the various traits and other performance of the animals to identify the best types of animals for the future, whether it's to give resistance to our changing environment or better performance with our modified diets. And that's really a really quick run through of some of our state-of-the-art facilities and capabilities across our sectors. And what I want to try and leave you with is the thought that if you're looking to try to do research across the livestock sector, we have a facility and a series of researchers with expertise and knowledge in the area to really deliver that research and finally deliver impact that's going to make a difference to industry. So thank you very much for listening today.
Thank you, Stuart. That was really, really interesting. And I love the opening line, obviously, the four centres, one vision. And I also love your little strap line there, the front door to a collaborative network of expertise. That is absolutely amazing. It just ties in with everything we're trying to do here as well. So it's nice to see that is being replicated within the R&D areas as well. So once again, thank you very much, Stuart. I'm now going to bring in Shamal. And Shamal Mohammed is from the Agri-EPI Centre, and he is one of the CTO there. So hello, Shamal, how are you today?
Hi, are you all right?
I'm good. Now, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you do with the Agri-EPI Centre as well. So I'll let you talk to the people at home about what your capabilities are.
Thank you, Wendy. Hello, everyone. My name is Shamal Mohammed. I'm a Chief Technical Officer at Agri-EPI Centre, and I'm glad to be here today and share with you our R&D capability in our centre. As my colleague Stuart mentioned, we are part of the AgriTech centres in the UK, and I would like to start my presentation with our purpose as Agri-EPI Centre and other centres as well. We are almost an enabler for technology and innovations and digital transformation in agriculture supply chain. So we work between the science and the technology providers as well as the agri-food industry. So we're trying to bring some of this knowledge and expertise and technology advancement to something that the farmers can use as a practical tool to improve productivity, but also to maintain and improve the environmental sustainability as well. At Agri-EPI Centre, we have four main focus. So one of those areas is agri-robotics and agriculture engineering. So we have one of our hub in Midland in collaboration with Hub Adam University. We have the facilities there. So this is one of the areas we're quite keen, and we're working with multiple partners from commercial as well as academia. The second one is on precision crop technologies. So this is mainly based at our Southern Hub at Cranfield University. Then we have a huge capabilities in precision livestock farming and aquaculture, and specifically on dairy, which I will mention some of our capabilities later on. And more importantly, we work quite closely with farmers, and that's where the precision farming data is coming from. And we have a network of farmers within our center. In terms of our location, so we have four main hubs. We have Edinburgh hubs in the northern hub in Edinburgh, which is in collaboration with University of Edinburgh and SIEL. I already mentioned Midland Hub and Harper University, Harper Adam University, and Cranfield. We also have a Southwest Dairy Center in collaboration with Kingsay. But also we have a wider range of collaborators and partners in our network, from farmers to UK government, the scientists, academia, the provider of technology and engineering solutions, investors. So we work with a wider range of partners and players in the food supply chain. And the whole idea is to create that sort of ecosystem for innovations and development. So Southern Hub at Cranfield University, so we have a world-class phenotyping platform. This is in partnership with Cranfield University, but also with CHAP. So this is one of the largest glasshouse in UK and possibly in Europe. But what we invested in this facility is a wide range of sensor technologies where we can grow crop in a controlled environment, and we can do a wide range of testing and experimental design to detect disease or nutrient efficiency or precision irrigation. So we work quite closely with Cranfield, with CHAP, and with other partners across the board. We also have a post-harvest facility, which is mainly looking at the food waste in the supply chain, but also working with retailers and food manufacturers to improve the shelf life of fresh produce and keep it for longer, and working with the supply chain to minimize the wastage within the supply chain as well. We also have a workplace and a workshop and office place as well for companies to access our facility and our capability. And as I mentioned, we have an access to the world-class scientists at Cranfield as well. So there is a wide range of asset at Cranfield, which is specifically designed to monitor and measure the crop variations within the glass house, in the lab, but also in the field. So there is a wide range of sensors can be put on a drone, measuring crop variabilities. So these are a few examples of those type of technologies, so very special drones. We have a ground penetration radar, we have hyperspectral cameras, we have a photosynthesis technology to measure how the crop and how the plants are actually performing in the field. Midland Hub is specifically providing workshop space for agricultural engineering companies and research and projects to develop new solutions for farmers and for the industry. We also provide an office and lab space and a workshop space as well. We also have a laser test facility as well. So that is providing a full service for the companies and organizations to bring their innovations into the industry. Northern Innovation Hub is mainly focused on lab equipment. We have a food lab, we have an aquaculture testing facility. We also have an office space for training and a lecture room as well. So this is where most of my colleagues are based in Edinburgh as well. Southwest Dairy Centre, this is one of our key strategic capability in southwest of England. It's a partnership with a commercial company, Kingsay, 180 cows in a commercial farm, fully automated system. So we have a robotic milking, robotic feeding, even there is a robot cleaning the shed as well. And it was highlighted on Channel 5 Gadget Show last week as well. So these are quite advanced farm with technology, and cows, they all have multiple sensors. So we can measure the variation from the animal to the grass, to the soil, to the milk. And that's where we can identify the areas for improvement and efficiency in the system, and also closing down the waste in a dairy farm sector by providing better tools and technologies for farmers to make better decisions. I mentioned our satellite farm network. So this is, we have a 24-member in our network across the UK and across different sectors in agriculture, from livestock to crop and pig and sheep and beef as well. So what we're trying to do is actually engaging with the commercial farmers to use their farms and their expertise, their knowledge and the data and the information they have as a test bed for commercial companies and research organizations to trial and test new ideas, new solutions, and new products. And this is where they can get an honest feedback about some of these innovative solutions, how it work on a commercial scale, and what is the improvement need to be done before it goes to the market. And I think this is where we've been engaged with many companies at an early stage or pre-market stage to test their product and then get some sort of a farm feedback on their applications and their technologies. But also there is another important function of the satellite farm network is actually working as a knowledge exchange hub to bring in and providing information to the wider farming communities about the benefit and the value of AgriTech solutions in their businesses, and providing that sort of a facility for meetings and networking and exchanging the knowledge within the wider community as well. We also have a membership club, if you like. So we have over 125 companies, and that's again is about to bring an ecosystem for innovation from various different players in the food supply chain to bring people with the different skill sets and technology solutions to solve the real farm problems. And we're working with our members quite closely in building some of these solutions for the industry. So in terms of the wide range of services we provide, so we're obviously doing a lot of collaboration and working with the industry partners to build new ideas and new solutions to solve farm problems. But we also help with scoping funding opportunities and helping these ideas to be funded and obviously develop solutions for the industry. We also provide a project and grant management service. So we have a team of qualified project managers. They specialize in managing these grant-funded projects and providing these facilities to our partners and our members. We also have a technical expertise and R&D capability, as I mentioned now. And another services with the facilities we have is providing a technology business incubator. So we provide that sort of a facilities for startups and small and medium-sized businesses and helping them to sort of bring their products and services into the market. We also work as a launchpad and a launch platform for these companies. I mentioned commercial farm testbed, which is part of our satellite farm network, but we also work internationally as well to take some of these technologies and these solutions from the UK companies to a global market. Just a few examples of the project we've been involved in the past. So 5G Rural First, we were one of the partners with Cisco last year, and we demonstrated a few use cases of 5Gs for dairy farmers in our facility at the Southwest Dairy Center, and we also engage in some other activities related to the 5G, and hopefully that will demonstrate how this type of connectivity will change the farm businesses and help them to make better decisions going forward. Another project we are involved with is a hands-free farm. So it's a demonstration of automation and robotics to be able to do almost all the operation on the farm scale without any sort of a human intervention. And this sort of concept has become more and more relevant with the challenges we're facing with the COVID-19 and the labor shortage in agriculture. So I think this is where we're trying to kind of be ahead of some of the solution and bringing the solutions into the industry. We're also involved in many livestock projects. This is one of them. So we're working with multiple partners in the UK, trying to build an integrated dairy beef health monitoring system, providing farmers and the growers to increase productivity and improve the animal welfare as well. I mentioned the international engagement. So we have a few international projects. China is one of them. So we are one of the project as part of the flagship challenge, and we have a smart farm concept collaboration with China. So we completed phase 1 last year, and this year we signed a memorandum of understanding with Tianjin Food Group for the second stage, for the second phase. And we also have a project in New Zealand to demonstrate some of the UK capability in use of big data in beef sector. We also have a demonstration farm in Paraguay, and we were able to continue this demonstration farm for a couple of years now, and we demonstrated some of the UK capabilities in terms of monitoring the beef health and well-being, but also in terms of integration of data platform, and I'm demonstrating some of the UK capabilities to the Paraguayan farmers, and then they can see the value of this technology. And hopefully these sort of activity and international activity will open up an international opportunity for these companies. And we obviously, one of our objectives is getting UK ideas and solutions into a global market. And I think that's me. And thank you very much for your time. And I'm happy to take any question later on. Thank you.
That was great, Shamal. Thank you very much. And I think your strapline as well around the knowledge exchange, so the engagement, the measurement and the testing, all leading back directly to the farmer and the farmer's issues is fantastic. So really appreciate your presentation there. Without further ado, we've got another one of these Centres of Excellence, and that is Richard Glass from CHAP. And he's obviously going to talk about their expertise and their capabilities from CHAP's perspective as well. So, hi Richard, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. So I'll let you talk to the people at home and educate me as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to cover some of the CHAP capabilities around the UK and give a bit of background into the sort of work that we're doing, which complements the work of the other centres that we're hearing from today. So I'm an Innovation Hub lead based at Sandhutton on the same site as Ferrer, which is now the York Biotech hub. So within CHAP, then we have a number of partners who deliver a lot of the R&D projects, are involved with the R&D projects that we do, both commercial projects and grant-funded projects, principally in the UK, but we also have a number of projects that involve overseas work as well. We have a number of non-delivery partners at the top there who also participate in meetings and providing expert advice to the CHAP network. Based at Ferrer, then we have the eFlows mesocosm, which contains 60 streams, which provide a realistic simulation of what happens in the field. So in the field, it's very difficult to control what goes on. So here we can look in more detail at what it is that's affecting the aquatic life in these streams and looking at different levels of contamination similar to what might occur in the field. So these can be used for higher tier ecotox risk assessments to help provide data for packages for principally plant protection products, but also could be used for other chemicals which contaminate the environment, such as pharmaceuticals, biocides, and fertilizers. Also at Ferrer, then we have the Crop Monitor Pro, which is a decision support system, which has been developed from the crop monitor that was used by Ferrer for a number of years. So now it is being able to be used on a 2x2 kilometer grid using Met Office data to give accurate data for that particular field on that particular farm, and also being able to predict the risk of infection by different pathogens and different pests based on a model that has been developed by Ferrer using in-field observations, and then comparing that, looking at how those pests and disease develop based on the Met data recorded on that same site. So this can be used at the moment for winter wheat, oilseed rape, and potato, and is available, will be launched on a commercial scale in September this year. Down the road from York at Selby, near Selby, we have the Advanced Glasshouse facility. So inside that we have also the availability of the water deep hydroponic tanks, which is a growing way, an increasingly common way of growing plants hydroponically. And the purpose-built greenhouse, was developed to be able to test biopesticides in a controlled environment, as being able to separate out the different treatments. So we've used that for a number of trials over the years and collaborate very closely with another of our partners down at Egham, CABI, which I'll go into later in the presentation. Also at STC, then we have the Vertical Farming Development Centre. So here we can look at a range of different lighting regimes and hydroponic regimes to compare how the situations affect the growth and the quality of the plants that are being grown. So we can compare the two separate chambers and look at the different conditions in the two. So here we're trying to optimize the lighting and the irrigation and fertilization of the hydroponic layers. Also for vertical farming, then we have up at Dundee, the controlled environment hub. This is based in containers. So again, we're looking at new technologies there, looking at different types of irrigation with the hydroponic systems, looking at different types of lighting, evaluating micro nanobubbles. And this has been used for looking at a number of new technologies that are developing within the area. Within the controlled environment area, then we have the Natural Light Growing Centre. So this is a new way of putting up greenhouses, but with ETFE film onto the greenhouse in a way that hasn't been done before. And one of the advantages of ETFE is that it will let a wide range of light through, including a lot of the UV light, which is obviously taken out by the glass in many of the greenhouses in Northern Europe. So here we're looking to see what effect the full range of light is having on the growth of the crops and how best to optimize that lighting regime. We can look at different types of substrates and irrigation, such as hydrogel and nanopore polymer films. We have a crop storage facility, which is mainly involved with looking at potatoes, in particular sprout suppressants, and looking at alternatives that are based on novel products that aren't synthetic pesticides, they're plant extracts. And with the problems with many of the sprout suppressants at the moment, then this is something that is being well used at the moment to find solutions for storing potatoes, and also can be used with other crops as well. With Newcastle University, then we have a range of analytical techniques that we can use in the lab and in the field, and we have these mobile labs that can be taken out onto farms to do on-site diagnostics for farmers, looking at identifying pests and diseases. And more recently, it's been used looking at blackgrass resistance with a test that can be used and give results just in a few minutes. The farmers can bring along their samples of blackgrass and we can tell them the extent to which they've got resistance in their sample. At Cranfield, then, with Agri-EPI, we have the phenotyping facility, which is part of the soil health facility. So here we have 1 meter cube dosed lysimeters, where we can look at a range of different soil conditions. We look at soil compaction, so we can look at different soil types. And here we've got an example of the sort of things that we can look at, different ways of preparing the soil. We can look at different tillage and cultivation techniques. We have the plant growth rooms where we can bring on the plants, looking at the effect of soil erosion and rainfall on different types of soil. And we can grow on those crops then in these large lysimeters, looking at control conditions to see, really to optimize the way to prepare the seedbed and the way to treat the soil. The fine phenotyping lab at Rothamsted, then we've been looking at pre-symptomatic signals for crop pathogens, being able to try and identify when a pest or a pathogen is infecting a crop and it's not necessarily visible with the naked eye. So here we can look at how to identify that using UV or infrared scanning techniques. The molecular diagnostics lab, then here we can do DNA sequencing, gene expression, and also look at how identifying certain genes that might be responsible for resistance to pesticides in particular. So here we can do sort of early stage analysis of markers really of resistance, which can then be screened on a larger scale. At CABI then, as I mentioned before, we have the fungal biopesticide development lab. So here at CABI, we have a large number of plant pathogens, and they can be screened to see if they give any efficacy against pests or diseases of UK crops in particular. So here we have the lab where we can do early stage screening and development of novel biopesticides. They're all stored, all the isolates are stored in liquid nitrogen down at CABI, and this is part of what we call the National Reference Collection. We also have a moldy tough mass spec, which is being used to identify different strains of pests and diseases, and that's showing a lot of promise in the early stages that we're using it down there. And that comes to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. That was really interesting. I didn't realise, to say, how far you spanned with your sort of delivery partners across the UK. So really interesting there. Thank you again, Richard. I think from what we've heard today, we've seen, as say, with CIEL, we've looked at Agri-EPI, and we've just then had, obviously, Richard from CHAP. All of the innovations, all of the work that they do there creates data. And that quite nicely leads into our next presentation, which is from Matthew Smith from Agrimetrics, because, as we say, we all create data in every single day in what we do. So that will quite nicely lead over for Matthew to tell us about that Centre of Excellence. Are you there, Matthew?
I am, Wendy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm equally excited. It's wonderful to see the innovations going on in the different centres, which I see regularly, but I always get excited by it. And then seeing what we can do with the data that comes from that to add value is just what we look for. So I'm going to tell you why Agrimetrics exists, what we do, and then how you can get value from us through our products and services. So first of all, why do we exist? Well, I have to go back to the points that Wendy and the other presenters made in terms of the significant challenges that the whole agri-food sector is facing, whether it's been most recently in response to COVID-19. You know, we've had surpluses and deficits that have appeared in produce, in labour, in finance, in assistance. That would be great to be able to deal with that more effectively and minimise that happening and recover faster from that. And then we're also facing these challenges of increasing our production, but then increasing our production in the right way, you know, reducing the environmental impact of our activities, and in general, improving the sustainability of our operations, both in primary production and then along the agri-food system. And whether that's being insisted upon by, for example, government, for example, in the UK, replacing CAP with ELMs and farmers getting paid for improving the general environment, to also it being demanded upon by the consumers of the produce. So these challenges are just growing, becoming more numerous, and we've got to do something about them. They're never going to go away. The realization is we simply cannot properly address these challenges without using data. We fundamentally depend on data about the status of what's going on in our agri-food system and how it's changing and how it might change in order to really respond. And that then presents the opportunities. If we can work out the way to handle that data and turn it into value, then we can create new value. That's where the new money comes from. That's where the new environmental improvements come from as well. And really, the vision that we've seen is that if we at Agrimetrics, we deal with the whole agri-food system. That's producers, that's input providers, that's processors, that's retailers and end consumers, that's the financial and insurance sectors that are supporting those industries, and that's government. And we look at the modern future scenarios where people are trying to address those challenges, whether it's improving sustainability, whether it's responding to COVID, for example. The proper way we address that is data needs to be exchanged and analysed and insights exchanged from that. So when we look at the agri-food system and food and products and services going along that agri-food system, what it's going to turn into is parallel to our food supply chains and our service supply chains. We're going to have data supply chains. We're going to have data that's exchanged along that whole sector. And that's the problem that Agrimetrics is addressing. Let's take one particular example. I've got two images on my slide here. I'll just talk about one, this carbon sequestration one. You know, we have data input and output dynamics going on in all of these, and that's really what we're trying to make more effective, more impactful, and more value generating. So if we take carbon sequestration, it's an emerging opportunity for producers to be rewarded for improving the carbon stored in their operations, either improving carbon storage in the soils, in the surrounding natural environment, planting trees. You know, that we need to know, well, what are the opportunities available to me as a primary producer in terms of what I can do to improve carbon storage? In order to do that, well, what's the condition of my soils now? What's the environment I live in? What's the weather that I experience? So what are the opportunities available to me to improve soil health or to plant trees? So for that, I need to know, I need data. Data is needed about the situation I live in terms of the climate, the soil, the underlying geology. But then beyond that, when we're decided, let's do something to fix carbon and get rewarded for it, well, how do we measure carbon? Who's measuring that for us? Is the farmer measuring it? And then beyond that, how is that data then provided to those who are willing to pay for it? So whether it's a government rewarding scheme or whether it's a private sector scheme rewarding farmers for the carbon that they fix through these mechanisms. In all of those pieces of that process, data is having to be exchanged. It's having to be obtained by different providers, and then it's having to be passed on to other consumers. That is really hard currently. And that's the problem that Agrimetrics is addressing. So the most frustrating thing over the years has been that actually a lot of the data has existed, or collecting it has not been a problem. The barrier has not been how do we collect this data? It's been how do we appropriately exchange the data between those who have it and those who need it, so everyone's rewarded and it's not too expensive to exchange that data and absorbing all the potential financial benefit you'd get from the data in the first place. And so what we're doing is breaking down those silos to enable that data to flow in a supply chain mechanism to enable those opportunities to be realized. So Agrimetrics has been set up to accelerate that new value generation across the agri-food sector using data. And the mechanism we've used to enable that, to eliminate those silos, is to run this data marketplace. A mechanism, a cloud-based infrastructure to reduce the costs for both data providers and data consumers in getting value from the data. So the two high-level customers for Agrimetrics are data providers and data consumers. And you can see on this slide names of organizations who are data providers in our data marketplace and data consumers who have benefited them from data delivered through our marketplace. So we run this data marketplace, and you can go today to our website and you can see the data marketplace and see the data that's advertised through the public marketplace. And you can consume that data, you can pay for that data and pull it into your analytical workflows. Or you can become a data provider yourself and monetize your data through the marketplace. An important element, I'll tell you how that works through the course of these slides. An important additional element that's shown on this slide here is there's the public marketplace. You can go yourself now and discover the data that you could use or how your data could be represented alongside other data sets. But also the infrastructure we've set up to allow for that data to be exchanged in a cost-effective way allows for private data exchanges. So there can be data exchanged through our marketplace that's not visible in the public realm. So an example would be sharing data in a supply chain scenario where producers are sharing data with consumers, or in auditing scenarios, for example, where again there's a need for data to be drawn from different providers and different initiatives where it's been collected for different reasons, and maximize the value we get from data that's already collected as well as new data that's collected. So as I said, data owners are one of the target customers. How do we deliver value for them? Well, as I said, a lot of data is locked up, and that a real difficulty for data owners is how they get it to consumers. And so through our marketplace, data owners can advertise their data and make it discoverable so that people can go to our marketplace and discover, oh, that their data exists. A key thing that we do is we increase the value of that data, in particular by relating the data that any one data provider provides to other data sets that it could be used with. And I'll explain that in the next slide. But ultimately, the scenarios that we see in the future mean that you're not going to generate value from just one data set. But it's, for example, for a field, if you're wanting to predict crop health or something like that, you need to pull together the weather data and the soil data and where the field is and historical cropping data and things like that in order to generate value. And that requires pulling data together from multiple providers. So you as a data provider can add value to your data by making it relatable to other data sets that it could be used alongside. The marketplace also provides then a revenue generating mechanism for data providers. So they can set the price, they can set controls over what the price is for the data, what are the terms of provision, and then on to the next bullet, control that usage through detailed permissioning. So they can choose to advertise the data publicly, or they can choose to make the data visible in terms of its existence, or control whether people can actually self-service for their data. So not just controlling the price, but who has visibility over it. And that caters to the private data exchange scenario. By us running this infrastructure for the data providers, we reduce their data-related costs because we can provide a system through which they then advertise and commercialize their data. So we're reducing that cost for them. And then also by running a dedicated service for that, we can ensure for the whole thing that there's the appropriate security guarantees around it. And then data owners are fully empowered in terms of the control over their data and the terms of provision, so that data providers can trust the service that they are given and the security that's provided and the security through which their data is made available. A key element of the data marketplace is that we relate the data sets that are available through the marketplace in terms of what they are about, in terms of the real world things that they are about. Because the scenarios that we're looking at in future in terms of how people generate value from data, whether it's providing some provenance history behind produce, or the risk of some health problem in an animal, or the risk of some supply chain disruption due to COVID-19, it requires relating the data from different providers. So if, for example, if we're predicting cow health, I might want to know where are the cows, what's their health history, what's the data that's been measured about what's going on in their rumen. And someone building a predictive model on top of that just wants those pieces rather than those whole data sets. And so by linking the data in terms of what they're about, it allows the data consumer to then go, look, I'm interested in just the weather plus the soil data in relation to these specific cows. I don't want all of the Met Office's data. I don't want all of CH's data and to suffer the huge cost of working with all those data sets. I just want those related pieces specific to the cows I'm interested in. And that's what we enable through by linking the data in terms of what it's about. What that means then for an end consumer is that they can discover and obtain this high quality analysis ready data from multiple providers directly over API. That means directly over the internet. So the way in which data gets consumed, yes, a consumer can get data just from the Met Office or just from Airbus or any of the other providers in the marketplace, but the scenarios really that they're looking to enable is when they need multiple data from those different providers. And so what this allows them to do is very conveniently, very cost effectively, just get the pieces that they need. And they can find the data in relation to that. So for example, you'll find in our marketplace a whole set of field link data. So that you can go, look, these are the fields I'm interested in. I want to know, for example, predict forecast crop yields, and I need to pull together what's the soil, what's the crop that's actually growing, what are the satellites telling me about the health status of the crops. I can pull those data together and build them into a predictive model, provided I have access to the data from all those different providers. And our infrastructure enables that really cost-effective mechanism for transferring data and finding data from the providers and consumed by the consumers. critically, the consumers are only paying for the data they need. And then also because we're running that infrastructure and we're also providing a mechanism for all of the details around the data in terms of the terms of provision and the uncertainty in the data and so on, then it's very explicit in terms of the extent to which the data can be trusted and relied upon as well. So in relation to that, the key future scenarios we're really targeting with realizing the value from this marketplace are predictive scenarios across the agri-food system. So when you're predicting yields, crop growth, animal growth, disease probabilities, you're never going to get all the data you need from one provider, and you're going to want to have choice. So it enables the bringing together the relevant data sets to enable those predictive scenarios, but also along the supply chain as well, predicting surpluses and deficits in supply and demand and being able to overlay those, as well as predicting price and price fluctuations and profits and things like that. So key for us is being able to relate the data along the supply chain as well. Secondly, sustainability accounting. So when we're trying to improve elements of sustainability on farm, again, we're needing to relate data that's from multiple providers, whether it's hedgerows or soil health or water quality. Farmers over time are going to be wanting to access this information from different places, and moreover, be able to have it reported to initiative payers like the government or by retailers in terms of paying for access to the evidence, in terms of improvements in sustainability at the primary production end. And then related to that, also really accessing new markets through provenance-backed produce. And so really being able to market produce on the basis of its welfare credentials, on its sustainability improvement credentials, in terms of very cost-effectively being able to associate with any produce, either primary produce, intermediate products like bags of flour or whatever it is, or end produce like a tin of beans or whatever, being able to cost effectively associate the provenance information associated with that so it can be surfaced to customers who care. And hopefully this opens up new marketing opportunities for the production sector in terms of a cost-effective way to really advertise and have flexibility about how they advertise their produce to end consumers. So how can we support you? You can use our data marketplace right now as a data provider to share and monetize your data and really get the benefits of being able to relate your data to other data sets and enable consumers to get your data alongside the other data sets to generate net new value. Also, as a data consumer, you can just use our marketplace right now to get analysis ready sets of data to allow you to cater to those scenarios I spoke to before, either proving provenance or predicting yields or whatever the scenarios actually are. So you can get and send data through our marketplace right away. You can also use our marketplace for private and permission data exchanges. So we can provide that infrastructure to enable those data exchanges to be set up so you're not having to build the infrastructure. Please don't build yourself. You can leverage us to accelerate you to getting value. And lastly, we have expertise that you can use. So we have data scientists, software developers, what are known as knowledge engineers that describe what the data is about, and domain experts who you can use to enable you to create these predictive models or really get to the bottom of these new business scenarios in terms of how you generate value from them. So that's basically it. You can contact me to find out more information about Agrimetrics, or please go to our website, sign up, experiment with the data, find out about us and learn how you can generate value from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Again, I always love listening to your presentations. I learn so much every single time. And I think that's what's been important about bringing all these 4 centres together. You learn something new every day, hopefully. So let's bring back in the other speakers from today. And I've had a few questions emailed in. And I say, I think you've covered quite a lot of it, talking about what your capabilities are and the areas you cover within the UK and internationally. I think one of the key ones that's come across, obviously, on email at the moment is, and this applies to each and every one of you. So if we do it in reverse order, so maybe Matthew goes first, and then we go back to Richard, and then Shamal, and then Stuart, just to give your thoughts on it. So do the key areas of concern that the farming industry are seeing actually match the areas of research and, pardon me, and the areas of research and development being done in respect to the key focal areas and capabilities you have. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we each deal with a subset, and we were not all trying to deal with them all, and we deal with a complementary subset. And so obviously from the Agrimetrics perspective, it's really about making those scenarios work where it involves data exchanges from farmers to end consumers, or the other way around, how farmers can get value by bringing data into what they're doing in order to create that new value, get better predictions, or whatever it is in their operations.
And from yourself, Richard?
Yeah, I think that they do. I mean, farmers are worried about the loss of a lot of synthetic pesticides and how they're going to control pests and diseases and weeds in the future. So we're doing a lot of work around IPM and developing biopesticides. And alongside that, soil health. Well, that's a key interest to farmers, maintaining soil fertility and also reducing soil loss due to erosion and runoff. So that's two areas in particular where I think we're addressing the needs of the current farming community.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I think for us, working with the farmers and using our satellite farm network is always is an inspiration for understanding the key challenges facing the industry. So part of this network is to listen to the farmers' concern and the key problems they are facing, and so we can feed back that challenges into the technology providers. Say, well, this is what we listen from the industry and how we can utilize our capabilities and your sort of technology solutions to address some of these problems and then building some solution that can answer these problems. So I think this is where the link is between Agri-EPI and the industry. Is the satellite farm network is always a sort of a link to these challenges and feeding back into the industry.
Yeah, I think from CIEL's perspective as well, it's a really interesting question. And I think it's very easy, perhaps, to get disconnected from what's happening in academia and what's happening in the farming system. So what we try to do to address that is we hold regular, what we call RDCs during the course of the year. And these are focused on specific species for us, for livestock. So we'll hold one on poultry, one on pigs, one on dairy, etc. And this is an opportunity to pull together people from across the whole of the industry, listen to the current challenges, and then just make sure that the research that we're doing addresses those challenges, because things do change on an ongoing basis. And we want to just make sure that what we're doing over the next year, the next 2, 3, 4 years, is still meeting the requirements of the whole of the industry across all of the supply chain.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I say I am from farming background. So I very much know, I say, the world on the farm or in the field, if you like. But again, you'll know I'm passionate about what I do, and that is, I say, as the AgriTech program manager, seeing what's happening next and how we can ensure, like I said, the Industry 4.0 is all around that tool to support the farmer, not to replace them. So from my perspective, I'd like to get your thoughts on who do you see is going to become, or is the influencers and enablers to bring all these technologies together, and then how is that going to be disseminated across the food supply chain? So again, if we reverse that order again and start with yourself, Stuart, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, I like to think that the four centres together form a very strong part of that. So I think we're covering between us the key areas across the whole AgriTech system. So I think because of the reach we have, and I think this is the key point, is no one can do these things together. So it's really all about the networks that you have and the networks that you create all across industry, throughout farming, whether it's through government, whether it's through investors that are going to invest in the future of technologies. The critical thing is bringing that mass together of people that are going to work together and deliver a change. And I think that's one of the benefits of the four centres. We have quite a lot of reach into different industries, into different sectors, and also back into the government as well. So we can listen to all the challenges and we can react to it as a group, not as an individual. And I think that's probably the best approach.
Has anybody else anything to add to that one?
I've one, yeah. I mean, I totally agree that the AgriTech centres have a particular role to play. The one I'm particularly excited about, though, in terms of who are going to be the key influencers, are who really, particularly in the private sector, has the guts, who's got the willingness to pay for this improved production. Particularly when a lot of the technology that's being advertised to farmers seems to be very expensive, or is it worth the effort? You know, it seems to be at a cost or a marginal improvement. And I think that certainly the opportunities that are being talked about in relation to the private sector is how we can channel more value back to the farmers to reward them for producing better. And that pressure is building, whether it's financial sector initiatives to fund demonstrably more sustainable, more green initiatives. And of course, there's a lot of finance earmarked for improved, more sustainable initiatives, or whether it's the retail sector looking to differentiate with particular types of produce. And because that pressure is building, I think that key influencers are those that really take that bet and make that investment to really connect better produced produce to those new markets and really invest in creating those new types of products.
Fabulous. Anything to add to that, Shamal or Richard?
Yeah, well, I think I agree with Matt and as well as Stuart. In my view, the key influencer is going to be the farmer, who at the end of the day is going to pay for the development and the utilization of this technology. And I think in the last few years, we've seen more of a change in a way we develop a new technology, and it's more of a sort of looking at a partnership with the farmers and engaging them in a very early stage of development of the solutions, because otherwise, if they are not part of that sort of a process of development, we might end up with a solution is not relevant to their business. So I think, you know, coming back to the farmer and looking at the key challenges and engaging the farmer in the process of the technological development, it will make a big difference in terms of adoption of technology, but also you need a different business model as well, because they are part of the solution as well as they're the end user of it as well. So I think, you know, farming community is a key, and we need to be more listening to their concern, their challenges, and that should be the starting point for any innovations and any development.
Yeah, I think that sort of advisors and agronomists are playing a key role here, because farmers are overloaded with information now, and farming is becoming a very high-tech business. And some of the more innovative farmers are keen to take on some of this new technology. But a lot of it comes down to really demonstrating that some of the new technology actually does work, and it does provide a better economic output for the farmer if he starts to use it. So I think a lot of the agronomists that go around on farms, they can sort of see how the different new technologies, new developments are working, and provide that advice to the farming community.
I think it just comes back to, like I said at the beginning, we're all there to help accelerate those businesses and looking at it through a collaborative lens, because none of what we're going to achieve, like you said, we're going to do it alone. We all need to work together. So I really appreciate the time you've spent with me today, and hopefully the people at home have enjoyed our session. I said this was all around R&D expertise that the 4 Centres of Excellence provide within the UK. And as we saw, they're not just UK based, they do look at international opportunities. So we will put up a slide after I thank these guys again for their presentations. The main thing to understand is all of this week is around educating not only me, but everybody out there of why we're looking at AgriTech, what is so important about AgriTech and agriculture, and sustaining, obviously, the industry. So we do events throughout the year. And part of that is obviously getting the feedback. So if you want to speak to any one of these individuals that are presented today, please do drop us an email. Within your original invite, there was the Eagle Labs AgriTech email, or there is a link, as I say, after this, where you can put your feedback and ask to be put in contact, because that's the next step. You know, if you don't know who to speak to, reach out. These guys are always open to listen to you, because, as I say, whether you're the farmer or, as we said there, the trusted advisor, the agronomist, or a tech business that's thinking about these ideation, we all need to come together. So I would just like to thank yourself, Matthew, thank Richard, Shamal and Stuart. I've loved every minute of it today, and hopefully you'll join me again soon later in the year to revisit and see what's come up new in the next 12 to 18 months. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.